Asia's largest river is facing severe exhaustion, directly threatening the survival of 400 million people. An ecosystem that existed for more than 100 million years has fallen into complete degradation after only a few decades of overexploitation. To reclaim life, a campaign worth nearly $3 billion was activated. They did something the world had never dared to try before, releasing billions of fish directly into a depleted river, while simultaneously removing more than 110,000 boats through an absolute 10-year fishing ban. And the latest published data is leaving international scientists stunned. Biological density has doubled in less than 4 years, bringing back fish species once believed to have disappeared forever in massive numbers. But what pushed an ancient biological paradise into collapse so quickly? And what technical impacts directly shattered this natural system that once seemed impossible to defeat? More than 400 native aquatic species, including prehistoric creatures that survived the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, once turned the Yangtze River system into Asia's greatest biological pump. For millions of years, this flow maintained a massive food chain network, operating smoothly like an eternal machine. The Chinese sturgeon, a creature carrying an ancient genome from 100 million years ago, once filled the currents with millions of migrating individuals every year. They swam thousands of kilometers upstream to reach the exact shallow waters where they reproduced, then drifted downstream again toward the open sea, creating a perfect biological cycle. Rapid industrialization ignited a one-sided ecological war, breaking this original structure apart. Thousands of massive concrete blocks from mega hydropower dams were erected, permanently cutting off the ancient migration arteries of large fish species. Industrial wastewater completely altered the river's chemistry, turning spawning grounds into oxygen-depleted zones. Even more serious was the appearance of industrial fishing fleets. Equipped with sonar systems to detect fish deep underwater, combined with giant trawl nets and electric fishing technology, these machines scraped away every living organism beneath the water. From finger-sized juvenile fish to the last egg-bearing adults, everything was swept away. When the age structure of a biological population is destroyed with no mature fish left to reproduce, the natural biological machine officially collapses. The mechanical and chemical destruction happened at such terrifying speed that every traditional rescue effort became meaningless. A 90% decline in biomass across the entire river was a chilling figure when biologists released their report at the lowest point of the crisis. The Chinese sturgeon, a symbol of survival, plunged from millions of individuals to only a few dozen counted in the wild. When research institutes pulled up their survey nets, they found only bottom mud, plastic waste, and a terrifying emptiness. A 3,800-kilometer stretch of water was facing ecological decay. First-generation intervention measures were immediately deployed, but quickly proved to be a serious failure. The annual 3-month rotating fishing ban during spawning season was completely ineffective. The harsh reality was this: as soon as the ban was lifted in the 4th month, industrial fleets needed only a few weeks to wipe out nature's fragile recovery efforts. Fish populations that had just begun to rise slightly were immediately pushed down to levels even lower than the previous cycle. Faced with this survival problem, an unprecedented decision was made: completely shut down a billion-dollar industry and strip away the traditional livelihoods of 230,000 families, simply to give fish species space to recover. From the perspective of an observer, if your government introduced a policy that sacrificed an entire local economy for the recovery of wild nature, would you support that sacrifice or strongly oppose it? Leave your honest opinion in the comments right now, because this is the greatest line of controversy in global conservation. Powerless before continuous collapse, a group of senior lawmakers and scientists decided to activate the boldest and most expensive ecological intervention campaign in human history. A massive budget of 250 billion yuan, equivalent to more than 37 billion US dollars, was urgently mobilized to compensate families, buy back fishing boats, and transition hundreds of thousands of people into new occupations, not to build infrastructure. The recovery blueprint was built on a breakthrough scientific realization: allowing the ecosystem to heal passively no longer worked. The system needed a large-scale biological stimulus. A plan to stop all extraction activities for 10 consecutive years was approved. This time period was carefully calculated based on biological cycles, long enough for 3 consecutive generations of aquatic life to complete their life cycles and reproduce in an environment untouched by humans. For the first time, environmental DNA analysis technology was applied across the entire river basin. By decoding fragments of DNA floating in the water along thousands of kilometers, scientists successfully built a digital biological map, precisely identifying the breakpoints in the biodiversity chain. Based on this database, a massive biomass supplementation campaign officially began. Releasing 1.3 billion artificially bred individuals into the wild was a risky scientific trial, marking the decisive turning point of the entire project. To meet this scale, superbreeding centers had to operate continuously. The greatest challenge was maintaining genetic structure. Experts had to use allocation algorithms to avoid inbreeding. If 1.3 billion individuals carried genes that were too uniform, even a basic pathogen could wipe out the entire recovery effort. If fish raised in the sterile environment of laboratories could not adapt to strong currents, unstable temperatures, and finding food on their own, they would be eliminated in massive numbers. Billions of decomposing fish carcasses at the same time would create a huge secondary pollution event, draining dissolved oxygen from the water and permanently ending the river's recovery. Despite those theoretical risks, the planet-scale biological landing officially began, organized and executed with the discipline and severity of a true military campaign. Could these creatures born in artificial systems reclaim their wild survival instincts? The answer lies in the unprecedented implementation process that follows. 1.3 billion individuals from 40 of the most important native species, including nearly 1 million critically endangered sturgeon, were bred inside a network of giant fisheries research centers. The fish release did not happen randomly. Instead of being discharged directly into the river, all juvenile fish had to undergo survival training in areas that simulated natural conditions. There, computer systems continuously adjusted water flow and temperature ranges to reactivate wild hiding and hunting instincts before the fish truly faced nature. Each release point was calculated precisely using satellite data on current speed, temperature range, water turbidity, and available food sources. Every rare sturgeon was implanted with a tracking microchip before sliding into the cold current. And when the spring flood season arrived, carrying a massive load of nutrients stirred up from the riverbed, the release gates finally opened, sending billions of lives with the muddy current straight a muddy current. However, a fishing ban on paper was not enough. To protect these 1.3 billion new lives, an unprecedented role reversal took place. Tens of thousands of veteran fishermen, people who understood every current and every hidden reef, were rehired. Those who had once depended on extracting aquatic resources were now trained to operate AI, acoustic reconnaissance equipment, and control drones, equipped with thermal sensors to patrol the riverbanks at night. A large-scale electronic monitoring network was established to fully protect the water surface. Military-grade hydroacoustic detection devices were repurposed for environmental protection, continuously collecting data from beneath the river. When abnormal pulses from illegal intrusion were detected, the server system analyzed the coordinates and automatically alerted rapid response forces on shore. The entire basin now functioned like a biotechnology fortress. Many international experts had once been skeptical. No one believed such an artificially forced system could operate effectively in an open environment. That changed when sensors on the riverbed began sending back biological signals beyond the researchers' understanding. The explosion of the food chain had officially been activated. The latest analytical data has confirmed a major breakthrough in conservation. The Yangtze finless porpoise, an apex predator that once stood on the edge of collapse, has now risen to 1,249 individuals. This marks growth of more than 20% compared with the darkest period of the crisis. How could a creature with an extremely slow reproductive rate increase so quickly? The answer lies in the transformation of the acoustic environment. When 111,000 fishing boats were removed, the low-frequency engine noise that had devastated underwater hearing disappeared. The water environment became clear again, allowing this porpoise's biological echolocation system to function properly. As a result, hunting efficiency increased, biological stress dropped sharply, and calf survival rates surged. At the same time, direct measurements show that in less than 4 years of the ban cycle, total fish biomass in the river doubled. The number of recorded native fish species rose sharply from 308 to 351. The fish did not merely survive. Their movement, feeding, and reproduction awakened satellite food chains around them. This enormous biomass functioned like a natural biological filter. As fish searched for food, they stirred up anaerobic sediments and reactivated mineral cycling on the riverbed. Their organic waste became a rich nutrient source, driving the growth of aquatic vegetation and microbial communities, which then pulled migratory bird flocks back into the system. Life recovered rapidly, breaking every theory of linear development. However, injecting such a massive volume of biomass into an ecosystem that had only just escaped collapse also awakened another biological shadow, carrying abnormal risks. Not everyone is smiling at the rosy picture painted by the authorities. The sudden retreat of humans created a huge ecological vacuum beneath the water, triggering a paradoxical reaction. When extraction activities stopped, invasive alien species such as alligator, gar, and red-eared sliders suddenly lost the only barrier restraining them. An environment filled with young native fish became an endless energy supply for them. The uncontrolled growth of these species directly threatens the biodiversity that has just been restored. The center of ecological pressure has shifted from human impact to the brutal survival competition between invasive species and the native ecosystem. Independent analysts have also continued to warn about the campaign's long-term sustainability. Behind the brilliant success are major risks that receive little attention. The first is genetic degradation. Crossbreeding between artificially bred and wild fish could weaken the natural adaptability of future generations. Second, the local recovery of underwater biomass cannot stop climate change from drying out upstream regulating lakes. And finally, there is the financial risk. How will this multi-billion-dollar AI monitoring system be maintained when state funding slows after 10 years? From another angle, many human rights organizations have raised fierce ethical objections. The media portrays fishermen proudly changing careers into a river protection force. But in reality, turning 230,000 people into an ecosystem restoration workforce, is that truly a humane model, or simply forced survival labor? For many generations of families who knew only life on the water, they were completely stripped of control over their traditional livelihoods and forced to obey a giant management machine in exchange for small subsidies to maintain daily life. Despite new risks and endless controversy, this event still crystallizes an iron law for the whole world. Nature possesses an incredibly powerful ability to recover, provided that humans supply enough financial resources, completely remove mechanical extraction, and apply precise biological monitoring technology to protect it during the transition stage. Great restoration always comes with fierce hidden biological battles where every act of human manipulation carries a price. Press like, share this story full of hidden corners, and subscribe to the channel right now so you do not miss our next analytical file on how invasive species are creating a new kind of food chain crisis.